He was praying for a miracle in his life. He had been poor and wanted a better life than he had been living. He knew it was going to be another Christmas coming up, and it was the day before Thanksgiving. He was about to leave, and then he bumped into Chris. Joseph said, "Ouch." Chris said, "Keep your head up. You might miss something." "I think I am. It's the holidays again, and I'm in more debt than before. I don't have any hours at work, and my books aren't selling." Chris says, "I'm granting you 3 wishes, and they will be granted Christmas Day. You'll be amazed how much your life would change." Joseph.
That was Finding Christmas, the story of Joseph. Now available on Audible and iTunes, and available on paperback and Amazon Kindle. This is the Joseph Evaldi podcast. On tonight's podcast, I'm going to go into retrospect. As many of you may know, it's been a whirlwind for the past week or so. Made a lot of posts, everything else, but I get things in collective, and I regroup from it, and I recalibrate. And first, it's a matter of making some changes. Now, for those of you who may know, I've been doing this for about 2 years now. I've discussed about romance, I've discussed about inspiration, and I'd like to continue on with that inspiration piece. But I've also discussed a little bit about wrestling. Now, I don't know if many of you would know, but I'm a big wrestling fan. Have been my whole entire life. Fact is, I've became a wrestling fan since 1984, 85, and seen it up and down. Even though some left, some came back, I've managed to keep up with it through the years. And I'm familiar with many things that are going on. At least I try to be. But bottom line is, this whirlwind and getting upset of my situation and everything else, some things don't go the way they plan. Sometimes your back is against the wall, and then you, like with me, I make posts that go haywire and make myself look like a fool. Even though some other posts, I do a good job of trying to redeem myself, but the fact of the matter is, I've been all over the place. And when you're all over the place, you spread too thin. That's where I need to focus and come up with a better game plan. Fact is, I like wrestling. And I also like inspiration. And the thing is, I am going to actually change the format of this show. You heard it first. Instead of talking about politics and everything else, you know what? Let's just say I'm sick and tired of hearing about Trump's situation, what's going on overseas, and stuff like that. As everybody is. Sure, it has us in tune and stuff like that, but we should be doing things that we enjoy. We should be doing things that make us live, make us strong. That is why I am making this a wrestling / inspiration show. For the next year, this will be discussion of wrestling topics and inspiration and how the two tie together. When there is a strong villain, there is a hero. Many, many times this has been the case with Hulk Hogan. If he didn't have the cast of villains to make him stronger, he would have not rose the heights that he did. And I know he respects the villains for him to do that. I'm gonna go on my very first break right now, but when I come back, I'm gonna discuss a little bit more of why I am doing this change.
The fans look forward to wrestling, and they are part of the show. It was just yesterday on WWE Raw that the wave broke out on TV, and they stopped wrestling. The fans are as much of the production as the wrestlers. It is us who influence the direction of wrestling, and they say what they wanted. I remember when I was at a WCW event, and I started a Sid chant to beat up an opponent. He was a heel at the time, but my chant made him a face, and it was heard on cable TV. I guess then I influenced the crowd at that time, and the crowd reacted. Crowds have been known to influence the direction of where the storylines go. At times, the wrestling promotion likes to swerve the crowd, an unanticipated twist in the storyline. Crowds are a part of the show. However, the production makes the show. It's the people at the concession stands. It's the people who control the lighting and the camera work. Through the course of this audiobook, you will see the change in wrestling, of how it is operated and how it is produced, and how it influenced society as a whole. Now, as Vince put it, they compete with all forms of entertainment as society changes and try to stay relevant. You have the traditional fans, but if you're my age, of 36, the last wrestlers still wrestling on a main stage from the 1980s era are Sting and The Undertaker. This is a statement of the times, and like every era, it changes.
And that was written 2 years ago, and The Undertaker is long retired, and Sting as well. The book is called Evolution of the Square Circle, the production of professional wrestling. written by Joseph Evaldi, narrated by Dickie Thomas. It is available on Audible and iTunes and available on the Amazon Kindle. Back to the podcast. I'm back, and I'm going to say this. Reason why this change is happening. Many reasons. I remember one day listening to Peter Rosenberg's show. I can't even think of the name of it right now, but name escapes me. But I remember when he said he's going through a lot in his life, yet it was the nature of wrestling that kept his mind occupied and focused on getting himself through event to event to overcome the situation. Same thing with me. Whenever I had wrestling in my life, it helped me overcome events. It helped me overcome many dilemmas that I had faced. Whenever I saw the hero being down, I wanted to root for him. Even to a certain extent, when I see a villain not getting his fair due, even though I know he's telling the truth about a situation, I'd like for him or her to get their fair due. The fact is, wrestling, to me, has been a source of inspiration. The plot lines they come up with. Sure, some could use work, some could use tweaking, but I remember the 80s and the 90s seemed like when they were competing, they had that spark. They had that desire that they needed to make that storyline look great. And I remember back in 95, 96, going into my junior year. You know, I was coming off of good year. Like, I was shy a little, I was in net, everything else, and I was having trouble with my self-confidence, but I started watching wrestling again. I started watching WCW Nitro. And I remember the very first episode like it was yesterday, where Lex Luger appeared on Nitro for the first time, which set the tone and set the pace for the Monday Night Wars. Now, granted, shady how everything worked, but he made a decision and it was final. But that day, I had something to watch again. I had something to root for. And if you were into any sport, you rooted for your team. either you